The city lights glowed like scattered diamonds against the night sky, but James Carter barely noticed. He sat alone on a park bench, his tailored suit wrinkled, his tie loosened. People passed him without a second glance, each of them rushing to their own lives, their own families. James was the CEO of one of the largest corporations in the country. He owned luxury cars, mansions, and everything that money could buy. But for all his achievements, there was one thing he couldn't purchase: a sense of belonging. At 60 years old, James was admired, respected, even feared in the corporate world. Yet tonight, staring at children chasing each other, parents calling them home, and couples holding hands, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to admit before. He was lonely. A deep sigh escaped his lips. His mansion was silent. His wife had left years ago, tired of the endless late nights and missed birthdays. His grown children spoke to him only when they needed money. He had given them wealth, but he had failed to give them time. Now, in the quiet of the park, his success felt like a cruel joke. The laughter of children stung more than it comforted. He whispered to himself, "I built an empire, but I lost my home." While James was lost in thought, a small voice interrupted him. "Excuse me, mister. Why do you look so lonely?" Startled, James looked down. A little girl stood before him, no older than 7. Her curly hair bounced around her round face, and she held a melting ice cream cone in one hand. Her big brown eyes studied him with a seriousness far beyond her years. James blinked. Nobody asked him personal questions, especially not strangers. He was used to people flattering him, fearing him, or keeping their distance. But this child's voice carried no judgment, only curiosity. Lonely, he repeated almost to himself. His throat tightened. For a moment he considered brushing her off, but her gaze was so innocent, so genuine, that he found himself answering honestly. "Yes," he said quietly, "I suppose I am. I don't really have a family anymore." The little girl's eyes widened as though he had told her something tragic. She tilted her head. "No family. That's so sad." James tried to smile, but it faltered. He wasn't used to admitting weakness, yet in front of this child it felt strangely safe. "What's your name, little one?" he asked. "Emma," she said cheerfully, her lips stained with vanilla ice cream. "What's yours?" "James," he replied. "Nice to meet you, Mr. James," she said politely, before plopping down on the bench beside him, as if they had known each other forever. Emma swung her small legs, humming softly, then turned to James with a thoughtful look. After a pause, she smiled the kind of smile that could melt even the coldest heart. "You can be in our family if you want." James froze. "What did you say?" Emma repeated with the same warmth, "You can be in our family if you want. Mama always says family is anyone who loves you, not just people you're born with." Her words struck him harder than any business deal, harder than any speech he had ever heard. A child had just offered him what he had craved for years: acceptance. James let out a shaky laugh. "That's very kind of you, Emma, but families, they don't just happen like that." "Yes, they do," she insisted. "When Mama found our cat," she said, "now she's part of our family too. See, it's easy." Tears stung James's eyes before he could stop them. For years, he had hidden his emotions behind boardroom walls and polished smiles. But Emma's innocence broke through his defenses. He realized that what she offered wasn't just childish kindness. It was truth. Families weren't only built by blood. They were built by love. He swallowed hard, whispering, "I haven't heard words that kind in a very long time." Before James could gather himself, Emma jumped off the bench and tugged at his hand. "Come on," she said with the commanding tone only children could pull off. "Where are we going?" James asked, amused. "To meet Mama. She'll say yes, too." James's instinct told him to decline. He didn't want to intrude. He was a stranger. But Emma's hand was small and warm in his, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel entirely invisible. So he followed. A few steps away, a young woman stood by the park gate, carrying grocery bags. Her eyes widened when she saw her daughter dragging a tall man in a business suit toward her. "Emma, what are you doing?" she called. Emma beamed. "Mama, this is Mr. James. He's lonely. He doesn't have a family, so I told him he can be in ours. Can he come to dinner?" The woman, Sarah, looked startled. She glanced at James suspiciously, then at her daughter. But when her eyes met James's, she saw something that disarmed her. His eyes weren't the cold, calculating eyes of a businessman. They were eyes filled with sorrow, and now with a flicker of hope. I don't want to intrude," James began, embarrassed. "Your daughter is very kind. I haven't had anyone say something like that to me in years. It just meant a lot." Sarah studied him for a moment. She could see that Emma trusted him, and she remembered her own mother's words. Sometimes kindness to a stranger can change both lives. Finally, Sarah gave a soft smile. Well, Mr. James, we don't have much, but you're welcome to join us for dinner. James's heart clenched. He nodded, his voice breaking slightly. Thank you. You don't know what this means to me. That night, James sat at their small kitchen table. The dishes were simple, pasta, bread, and salad, but to him it felt like a feast. The air was filled with laughter, Emma's chatter, and Sarah's gentle warmth. For the first time in years, James wasn't the CEO. He wasn't a man defined by success or money. He was simply a guest, welcomed like family. Weeks turned into months. James kept visiting Emma and Sarah. Sometimes he brought groceries, sometimes toys, but mostly he brought himself, something he had never offered anyone before. He found himself looking forward to Emma's stories, Sarah's kindness, and the simple joy of sitting at their table. Slowly, the emptiness in his mansion no longer haunted him because he had discovered a place that felt like home. One evening, Emma climbed onto his lap and said, "See, Mr. James, now you're part of our family." James wrapped his arms around her, his throat tightening with emotion. He thought of all the years he had wasted chasing things that didn't matter, while the true treasure of life, love, had been waiting in the simplest places. He looked at Sarah, who smiled back at him. In her eyes, he saw acceptance. In Emma's embrace, he felt belonging. For the first time in decades, James Carter wasn't lonely. In the end, James Carter discovered that true wealth has nothing to do with money, power, or titles. What heals a lonely heart is the warmth of belonging, the kind that comes from simple kindness and love freely given. Emma's innocent words, "You can be in our family if you want," changed his life forever. Her compassion reminded him, and all of us, that family is not only about blood, but about the people who choose to stand by us, love us, and welcome us as their own. And sometimes it takes the pure heart of a child to show us the meaning of home.